Josh, there's only two sides. Peterson has made the decree.
Do you disagree?
Either Dylan Raiola is going to be the same as he was last year, or he's going to have a big season. There is no in between.
So do you disagree, though?
I mean, I disagree in principle because, I mean, there's so much room in the middle.
Sure.
But really where my hesitation comes is, how's the rest of the offense going to be? If you could tell me in advance how good the running game is going to be, or how at least, not how good, but at least how effective or a much of a threat the running game is, I could give you a better answer. Because if Nebraska has to rely solely on the pass, then I tend to think that it's going to be to the negative of your extreme. But if Nebraska has a threat in a running game, and I'm not asking them to be, the Baltimore Ravens.
Nice. That'd be sweet.
That'd also be a professional football team.
It would be.
I'm not asking them to be like that, but can the running game provide enough of a threat so that Nebraska has the ability to have the balance so that it keeps teams at bay? It keeps them honest. And that's really where my concern is. I don't, I come into this season because I feel greatness, or at least very goodness, is in Dylan Raiola. I think it's there. But it takes more than just that to have a successful offense. Obviously, you've got to have protection up front. You've got to have a running game and support. I'm not sure about what to expect out of Nebraska's receiving game this year. I know a lot of people are excited about it, but...
Well, I'd say that this is a more proven group than last year's was. So one guy...
Maybe.
So here's why.
Maybe.
I'll show my work. Dane Key is the equivalent to Jamal Banks, right? In terms of, he is a veteran player. Those were both veteran players, right? He had better numbers in a better conference. So, that's why I think that he's an upgrade. We talked about it last year. Isaiah Nair was coming off of multiple injuries, had barely played, hadn't played a full football season, if I remember right, since Wyoming, 2 years prior. Mm-hmm. And Isaiah Hunter, now he has only played 1 year of college football, but at least he played last year, right? So, that's why I think that he, on paper, is an upgrade. But Ja'Cory Barney, we know who he is, right. So he is an upgrade and then after that, it's kind of a wash.
Right, but how good of an upgrade is it?
Great question.
If it's just a tick up, I don't think that's going to be good enough.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be at least a couple of notches better than it was last year.
I think the offensive line is an upgrade. I am with you on the running game.
Right.
The running game is what it is.
I just have a lot of questions in general. So I don't necessarily disagree with, I disagree from the standpoint of there's so much in between that can happen. I don't see. Could I see a scenario where the numbers look similar to last year? Of course I can. Why? Because I've seen it before.
Yep.
And again, I don't know what to expect out of this running game.
Mm-hmm.
Could I see, a big explosion? Yeah, sure. But I just think that, the truth lies somewhere in the middle, that we'll see, we will see progress.
See, an upgrade, it's just not one where it's like,
right.
Whoa.
So what makes you think that it's boom or bust?
I think part of it, my thinking on boom is I really like the upgrade at coordinator. I just explained myself with the wide receiver position. I am a believer in the offensive line improving. And so if all of those get better, I think rising tides lift all boats, and I think the running game is better. And I will also admit to very much being in the pocket of Emmett Johnson. He's not paying me, but I am a big fan of his work, and I think that if you extrapolate that towards the whole season, I'm either going to be really smart or a moron with him as a running back. So I'm a believer in all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Why I am not is I have seen too many true freshmen in college football who came in with a lot of expectations, put up a so-so season, and then the next year it's supposed to be the jump, and then it just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I do think your first impression, not all the time, but John, sometimes the first impression is correct.
Mm.
And so I look at his performance last year, and look, not a perfect situation. The wide receivers were so-so. The running game was so-so. The offensive line, while better than it had been, was still suspect at times. And his offensive coordinator was bad. I didn't like that hire, right? But he also still screwed up. a lot of the time. He made poor decisions at points. His footwork was terrible. As the season wore on, he seemed to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and like to go back to the athleticism component, like he is what he is. And so like, that's why I think the main thing though, man, is I have seen too many college football quarterbacks come in expected to be really, really good. And then they're just fine. And then you're like, but they can turn it around the next year. And then they don't. And it's like, duh, they showed me what they are. So that's the reason why I think either really, really good or not so much.
From our friend Jed, the senior analyst of the program, who also hosts his own podcast, Big Red Junkies, double-digit starts by the 24 true freshman 5-star quarterback since 2016. JT Daniels and Trevor Lawrence had 11.
Okay.
Jacob Eason had 12, and Dylan had 13. He leads the list.
Okay, now what did those guys do? We know what Trevor Lawrence did in his second year.
Mm-hmm.
JT Daniels, he was at USC, for those who don't remember. He dealt with a ton of injuries, ended up transferring multiple times, and I'm looking at his numbers right now. I mean, he was just fine. He never was able. Now, how much of that was injuries versus something else?
Sure.
Jacob Eason, that was different because he actually started his career with Georgia. He transferred to Washington. If I remember right, he dealt with some injuries as well. And again, his numbers were fine. He finished his last year at Washington in 19. 64% completion percentage, 3,100 yards, 23 versus 8 touchdown interception. Like, John, those are solid numbers. But solid is not what you sign up for with a 5-star. You know, with a 5-star, much respected, much anticipated quarterback. And so, honestly, that tweet kind of makes me feel good about the first, my extremes.
What about Trevor?
But Trevor was great though from the start. He was obviously awesome. He won a national championship. He was that dude. He started and it was like, why the hell wasn't he already starting?
Right, but but assuming Raiola doesn't have injuries.
Mm-hmm. But again, so he's either Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence started better. He's either Trevor Lawrence or he's like, another one of those guys.
Or he could be something in between.
I
mean, I know, and I love looking back and doing comparisons with the next guy, but everybody is different.
Sure. Oh, 100%.
Everybody is different, and the situation very much is different. That's why I think at the end of the day, I think you're going to see improvement out of Dylan. It's not going to be eye-popping, oh my God, but I think you're going to see improvement. I think it's going to be better quarterback play from start to finish than it was last year.
Well, let me ask you this. I know we got to get to Bruns, but if you're right, is that a disappointment?
It shouldn't be.
Okay.
It shouldn't be. Now, again, a lot of this is going to also correlate to what the team's record is. Dylan could have a 20 touchdown, 8 interception season, which would be better than last year.
It would be.
But if the team ends up going 7-5,
it'd be okay, cool.
Right.
They were better.
So
he was better.
A lot of this too rides on how the team does.
And sadly, he only controls one phase of the game.
Though it would surprise me if Dylan had a season like last year, or let's just say, even if it was modestly better than last year, and Nebraska was still a 6-6 team. That would surprise me. I do think as Dylan's numbers will go up, I think the team's success.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's hard for me to think that Dylan's going to have a spectacular year and the team's going to suck. And it's also hard for me to believe that Dylan's just going to be and the team's going to be better.
Yeah, that's pretty much impossible. They're not good enough around him.